it's Kim. Welcome to my video today, my process video where I'm going to scrapbook a layout for you using Minte's City of Love, which is a new collection from Minte, available from Embellish It, which is a physical and online store in Timaru, New Zealand. So I'm doing this layout for them. So what I'm showing you here is that I've already done some fussy cutting to start this. I've cut the wreath out of this pattern paper. So I have the wreath on the pattern paper, the original paper, plus one that I have fussy cut out, which you can see there. And I've fussy cut out some other items from pattern paper sheets. So I frame there, a little stacked hearts from there. So that was the little stacked hearts. And then I have got a chipboard piece from the Mamarazzi chipboard from Minte. And I've also got a title, which is Girl. So the title for this layout, which is using a photo of my niece dressed up in her princess outfit that we gave her for her birthday and Christmas last year. So the title of this layout is going to be Girly Girl. So what I'm doing now is just cutting about 1/4 of an inch off the whole way around this wreath paper because I'm going to set it on a green pattern paper. Just cutting the salvage strip off that at the moment, and then I'm going to chop the middle out of it and I will pop that wreath paper onto it. I'm also going to use the 49er Market stitched washi tape to make it look like I have stitched randomly around the edge of this layout. I love those washi tapes for that, and they're also available from Embellish It, or going to be very shortly. They're winging their way to us as we speak. So I'm going to stick this wreath pattern paper down, and then I will use the washi tape and put some spots around, some strips of that washi tape around the edge. What I love about this washi tape is it just blends in to the background paper because it's on it's not completely transparent, but when you put it down, it sort of blends into the background. I don't think it would on a plain white, but it's great on pattern paper. And then once it's on, it looks like you've done some stitching. So it's great. And this green works, if this is a green colour that works perfectly with the colour of the ivy on this pattern paper. So now I've got the wreath, which, as I said, I have fussy cut out before I started filming of this wreath. So it's exactly the piece out of that pattern paper, and I'm just popping it up with some craft foam here. I use craft foam to do large pieces like this because you can get large areas easily. So this one that I'm using is sticky on one side. So I just stick that on and then use wet glue. The glue I use is Art Glitter glue. I really like it because it dries completely clear and non-tacky. And it has, you can get a little nozzle to go onto it so you can get a nice fine line. I am notorious though for losing my pins, which I use to seal these bottles. I am constantly destroying glue bottles or glue dispenser from the top. And so, yes, I'm a regular purchaser of new nibs and glue because I regularly go to bed and let it dry out inside. So then I just stick that down. Then I had a look at this and decided it was blending a bit too much. So I pulled out some old chalks that I have. So these are actually metallic chalk. You could use watercolour paint, you could use ink, you could use plain chalk, anything which you can rub onto that background paper just to lift the wreath on top away from the background paper. So I was a little bit heavy-handed at the start, so I'm just using a tissue here to try and wipe some of it away, and I am just working my way around the wreath to put down the colour. So I've just sped it up a bit more here. I'm working my way around with that pink, and it just gives a shadow underneath the cut-out wreath so it stands out more. Probably would have been a lot easier to do this before I stuck down the wreath, but you don't let small things like that get in the way. So where I put a bit too much down each time, I just use a tissue. So I think that looks a lot better because it really makes that wreath pop up off the page. And then I decided it needed a little bit more texture, so I've got some gauze here, and I'm just lifting and putting some gauze down underneath the wreath, and it's just peeking out a little bit. You'll see in the photos at the end of the video, you'll be able to see the gauze a lot better, but it's just peeping out around that wreath. So you've gone from having a plain wreath sitting, printed onto pattern paper, to now a dimensional wreath with the chalk shadow and some texture from the gauze. And I think that really lifts that wreath and makes it separate from that background paper. So again, just putting more glue, making sure that it's well attached down. That art glitter glue is quite strong. When you are sticking fabric, it is important that you use wet adhesive, not double-sided tape, because it just won't hold when you're using fabric. So a wet glue, and if it's thicker fabric, you need a stronger glue. So the art glitter glue is pretty good, but if I'm doing something with thicker fabric, I like to use I'm just having a look at it now, Stempera Extra Strong Glue. I use for that, and I also use that for flowers and stuff that are really chunky and heavy. So what I'm doing now is I'm using that center part of the green paper to cut a piece to go behind the photo, and one of the frames from the frame paper in that Minte collection, and I'm distressing the edges of those, and I'm just going to put a little bit more gauze behind the photo and a little bit of foam tape to pop that up, and then use that white frame piece and the green pattern paper behind the photo just to create some layers behind that photo. And I'm also going to pop a floral die cut from the Love die cut pack, which I'm using because we had unfortunately sold out of the City of Love die cuts. So it's from the die cuts are from the Yes I Do collection, which is also a new Minte collection, and it color coordinates perfectly with this City of Love collection. So just sticking down some foam now on the hearts, and I'm going to stick the photos down. I'm committing and stick those hearts down with some foam tape behind them. And now I am going to paint the chipboard that I'm using. So that's the title and the camera, and then I come back and I paint another chipboard heart to balance out, because originally I was going to put the title underneath the photo, but when I got it all stuck down, it didn't work there, and I needed to move it across closer to the camera, so then I had to come back and paint another heart. So I'm just using a gold watercolour paint here. You could use watercolour paint, acrylic paint, gold inks, gold chalk if you have some would probably work. You might even be able to thin down some water-based gold texture paste and use that. So anything that's gold that can give you that gold effect. I love gold, and I think it works really well with this Minte collection. So I'm just painting the title now. I've put a couple of different shades of gold on this, so it's not all the one shade. One's sort of a bit more coppery colour gold, and then a bright gold. And I just want to make sure they're dry, and then I will stick them down. So I hit them with the heat gun just to dry off that watercolour so they are dry. And I am going to stick that down. I had sort of basically laid out this layout before I started, so I had a fair idea of what I was going to do. Not completely, but a fair idea. So now I am getting some more double-sided foam tape. So these are just some thin white foam strips. This is also, product can also be available from Embellish It. These are great just for smaller fiddly pieces. So I'm popping up a heart in the center of the camera, and I've got some a lock and keys, which so the lock is from the Yes I Do die cuts, and the keys I cut out from the pattern paper cut apart sheet. And I'm just layering those up and sticking them down at the edge of the photo. And then I have some fussy cut flower pieces and die cut flower pieces, which I'm just going to stick below the camera. So there's like a little rose, and I don't know if it's a blown rose or a chrysanthemum or don't know, it's really quite a pretty flower, or a dahlia, might be a dahlia, that I cut out, and I'm just putting those, as I said, under the camera and at the top of the photo. And I'm going to put some of the ivy leaves that I've also fussy cut out from the cut apart sheet with those extra flowers that I'm positioning. And then I went sticking down the title, realised I hadn't actually attached the flowers, so I had to come back and attach those. So I'm just going to fiddle around with that now, get those stuck down. And I'm looking for the eye, and I can't find for the dot for the eye, and I lost it. So I had it, I painted it, and then before I could stick it down, I lost it, which I do. You will see in the final photos that I ended up substituting a little gem in there. Now I've realised that because I'm putting the title there, I need to balance out, because at the moment there's the camera and the title in the gold on the right side and nothing on the left side. And it really needs some gold over there. So I found a little heart that's also from that Mamarazzi chipboard. So that is another new collection out from Mintay as well. So I'm just painting that. I saw I needed to touch up a little bit on my title and camera, so I've touched that up. And I'm also putting some gold splatters in the top right corner and bottom left corner. So I do love a bit of a splatter. Probably not really smart to do it before I finish the layout, but the watercolour paint does dry pretty fast. Then I've realised that I had pink chalk on my wreath, so I was just trying to rub that off. As I said, the hazard of trying to do that once you've already stuck down your wreath, so I do recommend doing it beforehand. And I've stuck that heart down, finishing sticking the title down. As I said, realised I hadn't stuck my flowers, so I'm just putting all those down now, putting some foam tape on bits just to stick them up a bit. And then I will stick down the rest of my title. Lots of wet glue, dabbing everything down, title in place, and the flowers will now go above the photo. I'm using a bit of foam tape there too, so they just have a bit of dimension and pop up off the layer that they're on. And because the photo has some dimension behind it too, that it doesn't go up above the photo, so it sort of sits the same level as the photo. Popping those leaves in as well with a bit of foam tape too. And that's all that done. And now I think I'm going to look for a little saying that will go over underneath that heart. And I found a little Tim Holtz sticker, and it says, "Leave a little sparkle wherever you go," and it is just perfect with this layout. My niece definitely leaves sparkle. She has personality plus, and I just love this photo of her all dressed up in her beautiful princess outfit with the crown that we bought her for Christmas. So found my little phrase book. I love a little phrase. Found that phrase, leave a little sparkle wherever you go, stick that down. And then the last thing I have to do is find some mini letters out of my stash to finish my title. As I said, girly girl, because Izzy is very much a girly girl. So I'm just looking through some little letter stickers that I have. And of course I had every colour except pink, which I would have quite liked pink, but didn't have it. So I found a beigey sort of colour with a black type on it, which worked fine. And I am sticking that down, and it will be girly girl. So thank you very much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you could give it a thumbs up. And if you aren't already a subscriber to my channel, I would really love to have you join us. I do try to stick up regular videos. It just depends what happens with work commitments and other commitments, but I do have process videos go up reasonably regularly. At the end of this, there will be some close-up pictures of this layout so that you can see it in detail. I will have some more Mintay layouts going up shortly because I'm working on projects for the design team for Embellish It. So again, this layout was for Embellish It, my local scrapbooking store in Timaru, New Zealand. And as I said, thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.